Whoa, 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 ah, stay back, stay back! Hi! You might wonder how I ended up like this. Today, I plan to take on Gran Turismo 4 with just blue Fairlady Z. Now trust me, this journey we're about to take will be nowhere as easy as you will think. To see how much madness this challenge could bring into the world of Gran Turismo, we go! After obtaining my licenses and selling the cars that came with them, I went to the used car dealership and found a 300ZX, a car that was eligible for my run, part of the Fairlady line and has a blue color option. As this is the Spec 2 mod, I could recolor the car and thought that oil change would come with it. With this car in the correct color, I headed to the Sunday Cup, only to find this car was too expensive for the competition. See, the base price of this car is at 39k. So, with this shocking revelation, I went to the FR Challenge instead, and in Seattle, my preconception was shattered. See that glaring red icon down there? It means the oil running through this car's engine had gone bad. GT Auto did not change the oil this time, which means the 300ZX will be slower than it was supposed to be. But if this meant I'll back down without at least trying, then you haven't been watching me for long. Before the sharp left, I made my first move against the pack. While I had gone too wide, I remained close to the Chrysler before me, so I could engage that big break down the wide chicane. Across the set of corners, we fought neck to neck just to get a glimpse on the podium. And maybe this is not the cleanest overtake you'll see in racing, but I had to do with what I had, considering the 300ZX was still running on road tires. So, after a minute of tasting this car and all its janky glory, I could finally adapt to its quirks. And what better way to show this than earning the podium in style? And not long after, the mighty Mercedes was overcome. Not even all that beefy V8 could save him from me. With the silver medal at hand, I began my hunt towards the current race leader. And for a mere G35, he certainly gave much more of a fight than what I had anticipated. Simple brute force just won't cut it no more. Not in these conditions anyway. I carefully made my way down to the final corner, still trailing the Infinity. With hobbled power and questionable handling, I must somehow overcome this rival and claim my first stake in this challenge. At the hairpin, I got close, and this time I relied on the slipstream to keep the G35 from escaping. But reduced wind resistance could only do so much when my car was already unable to go 100%. I thought I could strike on the first chicane, only to find the door had already been closed before I could make any meaningful movements. Still, I steeled myself and kept on tailgating until the third corner, where I managed to enter the corner faster and make that overtake. For some reason, the Infinity really wanted my lane instead of outpowering me by sticking to his, which had leveled the playing field for us in terms of speed. As for me, the short race in Seattle had given me the opportunity to know my own car better. With me on the lead, the Infinity seemed to have lost all steam. And so, I managed to cross that finish line first, scoring the first victory of the challenge. On Tsukuba, I predicted a challenge subtly harder than the previous one, as it featured a lot of straights combined with blind corners, which could throw me off guard, especially with a car with these characteristics. On the first corner, I tailed the crossfire, joining the pack to benefit from slipstream, but even from that, I was still unable to close my distance from the rest once we all left that corner, signaling the one chance I'll ever have in winning in this event would lie on the corners. So, instead of bowing down to complacency, I took to the outer lane and nailed a double overtake while swinging back in for the next corner to create a spot on the podium. On the straights, I managed to claim the silver medal off the Silvia and started to hunt for the win. While the situation mirrored the first race, here, things were more extreme. On the second lap, I was way behind, and on a track that demands your utmost caution, I cannot just go full baboon mode and hit the gas willy-nilly. I had gotten closer by the second checkpoint, but that was due to the technical section which came before it. Well, it was good news. What lied after this was the long straight, and with a rival like that, I braced myself for the worst possible scenario. Predictably, the Skyline managed to recreate the gap it had lost through pure power. And to make things worse, the tensity had caused me to subconsciously abandon caution, leading to this unwanted slip throughout the final corner. Honestly, I should be happy that did not devolve into anything nasty, but it was still not helping in taking first place. And all I got was a single lap left throughout the short layout. So, I played to my strengths and played it slow yet accurate on the corners. I kept tailing the Skyline throughout the blind corner, and once the final hairpin came, I dove right in, monopolized the inner lane, and finally landed that overtake. On the long straights, I ensured the Skyline could not score a comeback, and after cautiously going through the final corner, I managed to clutch out a win of Tsukuba. In this event's last race, I had once again forgotten to tend to this car's maintenance. Well, this should make for more content, right? Right? Anyways, right before the third corner, the BMW was through, marking my first significant move on the race. As for the fellow Z32 driver, I had to be a bit brave and enter fast on a corner where this technique would risk me landing on the sands. On the corkscrew, I dove right in and denied the G35 any means of fighting back, gaining P3 as soon as possible before he could run to the horizon. On the straights leading to the second lap, I was once again reminded of the car's helplessness on the straights, to which I left at once I squeezed right into the podium around the sharp and dready hairpin. I had left the rest of the grid agape. None of them could stand before me, which naturally had led me towards the final victory required to conquer the AFR challenge. With this challenge done, I was awarded AA's 800, which was irrelevant to the challenge run at hand. So, I translated this into a quick monetary boost and immediately headed to the only other event this 300ZX could possibly take part in the Beginners League. 6-cylinder shootout, a Spec 2 exclusive event meant to celebrate the brilliance of 6-cylinder engines, promising strong opponents such as the Honda NSX and the Nissan Skyline GTR. Surely, our battle will be legendary! That was easy. Maybe the GTR could hold against me better. Nope. Just as pathetic. Man, this is just sad. Really? Even a G35 could put up a better fight. What is this? Disappointment could not even begin to describe what I had felt. With that first race easily won, I dreaded the chore this event would become. The idea of a challenge run is to make it challenging, not whatever goo goo gaga baby food nonsense this is.
You brought this honor. That sort of performance humiliates us. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
Oh, look, he's so fast, you know? He came out of nowhere and…
Enough! I shall take the next race instead. As for you, you will train until you are ready. Until then, no more racing.
Next up, Seattle, and this time, oh, this could be interesting. Well, or so I thought. Not even that Nismo could do much against me this time around. Let's hope I could get an actual challenge in the Special Stage Route 5. And right before the first half of the first lap, I was already in P4. Much to my delight, the upper half of this roster were no pushovers. I had to outsmart the Nismo to earn my spot on the podium instead of just cruising my way to the golden trophy again. Even then, I was held back by the traffic on this corner, and they were actually faster than me down the straight, forcing me to try and keep up via tailgating. Right around the chicane, I was caught in a conflict with a Golf, allowing him to remain on front, and more importantly, allowing that Z31 to flee. Lap 2 and I was trailing behind. This is it. This is the challenge I've missed. Unfortunately, in this tunnel, this overexcitement had led towards carelessness. Now, back in P4, I entered the next bend fast to overtake the GTR and block him from his lines afterwards, securing P3 once again. And with a similar approach, I managed to gain the P2 from the tuned Golf. Then, it was high time to hunt the Z31 down. I turned the Euphoria down and replaced it with Focus, as I needed to bring my A game if I were to catch that Fairlady. I let the car drift around the corners, minimizing reliance on the brakes to hold a pace as fast as I dared to pull to get the fleeting Fairlady close. But even after all these efforts, I was unable to make an overtake on the hairpin, the place I was supposed to be able to make the most impact. I didn't give up and kept on tailing the Z31 until the final corner, where I took the innermost lane of the corner and finally landed that overtake. For a moment until the long straights took it all away. This time, I was cautious through that tunnel to prevent shenanigans from the previous lap from repeating itself. While it seemed the car was going too wide, it was part of the plan to gain better footing on the hairpin. And after a short yet intense session of tailgating, I managed to finally score that overtake against the Z31. But the fight did not stop there. The Fairlady tried to fight back on the chicane, and it was a good thing that I won that bravery check. On the last straights, I focused completely to prevent the Nissan from making a resurgence. I kept the hammer down, squeezing every last bit of speed I could muster from this car. Finally, a race hard fought, and a race hard won too. Winning the 6-cylinder shootout had awarded me with a Lexus GS300, While not a Nissan, this car is still powered by a V6 engine, so I'll just keep it around for now. Maybe in the future I'll get to use it. Yo, that was a great race. Honestly, I thought the 6-cylinder shootout's gonna be a chore, but man, you proved me wrong. Oh, by the way, I'm stressed. Wait, hey, wait! What was that about? Well done on tonight's race. You won fair and square. And who might you be? I'm Satoshi of the GTR Brotherhood. That race had shown your skills, which had interested us. On the behalf of the Brotherhood, I invite you to become one of us. Judging from the name, you guys exclusively run GTRs? Correct. I'm sure you have more than enough to procure one. And they're good machines too, especially that R34. Yes, so how about it? Look, I don't usually do team-ups, but you made an interesting pitch. Let's trade numbers then. If I'm interested, I'll give you a call. With that event done, it was prime time to move on to the professional hall. And so far, it's easier than I thought. Mostly thanks to the soft spokes I've bought this car. Next up was the club and stage with 5. That Z31 on front. Somehow it feels familiar. Anyways, with the new tires, the Z32 had overcome most of its steering issues, turning this car into a truly formidable sports car. But is it formidable enough for professionals hall? I kept the focus on a short leash, and right on the corner, I slingshot past the Ford, allowing me to start my chase against the fleeting Fairlady. So far, he really feels familiar. As if this was the same Z I was racing against in the 6-cylinder shootout. If that was the case, then I'll just need to outperform him on the corners, which was somehow I believe the 300ZX could. All this effort, and I managed to get close towards the Z by the second checkpoint. Unfortunately for me, the corners here were still too lenient even for the overpowered Z, unlike its advanced version, where there were tons of corners I could make rounds on. And so, while surprising, there was no arguing with the results. That's a P2, the first loss I've ever encountered in this run. That Z was really running like it was possessed by the devil. So, to counter-react to this defeat, I cleaned to last of the Club and Cup, got this car a few upgrades, and tried again. This time with increased horsepower, which in my opinion would be mighty useful for the Turbo Challenge as well. Yo, I just wanna say, you really gave me a... Brother, all I want is a nice talk. What is this? Fine! If he wants to play that well, then we will play that way! Like before, the lower half of the grid was true, and after a bit of elbow grease, the focus was done and dealt with. Like before, the Z31 was already quite far in front, but this time, I got some extra horses under the hood, and more importantly, 30 downforce hidden within a visual glitch. With the extra downforce, this car became planted. I could take corners much faster and much braver than before. The 300ZX could finally accept a much bolder driving style, which could be just the answer to beat this obviously overpowered Fairlady. On the second lap, I got close, very close towards the Z, and I thought I had it on the last corner, but I had forgotten that despite all this upgrade, the Z31 still had more power somehow. So, I entered the third lap right behind my rival, waiting for another chance to strike, which came right after the tunnel. Which the Z had gone too wide, I made my move and entered the corner fast. Finally, P1 was at hand. Now came the task to defend it. While the Z31 could still fight back on the straights, all I had to do was to remain vigilant on the corners and take them as soon as possible. Gain more grounds on the technical section so the Z could not make a comeback. By the fourth lap, I managed to create a significant gap against my biggest rival through an aggressive driving style, prioritizing speed and power over caution. And thanks to that, I had finally managed to score my comeback against the Z. These upgrades was really successful in giving the 300ZX a new lease in life. So, with the Club and Cup done and my loss repaid in full, I headed straight to the race of Turbo Sports. In the last race, however, things was different. In Tokyo, I let the car rip, showcasing all its might with a cloud of smoke. Figured I'll get some style points this time. I tried to squeeze in through the left, But as the roads became smaller, there was barely any room for me. I was lucky that this did not end up with me being stopped dead on my tracks. I tailed the Lancia and the Spree down after the first checkpoint, keeping them close to the slipstream, and on the sharp right-hander, I took the inner lane and entered the corner fast, allowing a double overtake, which had landed me on P1. While victory seemed to come early this time, defending myself from two dangerous opponents would prove to be a challenge, especially when the Spree had shown to be a much more adept at the straight line than my 300ZX, and eventually, I was beaten. Down but not out, I took to the inner lane on the hairpin and got my position back. Around the first checkpoint, I managed to distance myself a little and build a buffer for the long final straights. I kept Strip's pace up and remained quick on the long circular left-hander, but on these alternating corners, I had to reduce my pace, as going any faster than this might have caused an ugly crash. On the long straights, I focused entirely to defend myself from the Spree, doing all I can to score the final victory required to win the challenge. I've gone this far, I've taken down powerful rivals. I will not let this journey end in utter failure. Finally, the finish line! I've managed to define my victory from this vicious Lotus and won the race of Turbo Sports. So far, sticking to just the 300ZX in Gran Turismo 4 had brought more challenges than expected. I certainly did not count to be locked into a struggle as early as the FR challenge. Even upgrading this car for the professional events only felt as if I had reached the bare minimum to win the events, instead of outright domination. You called? Does that mean you're interested in joining us? Let me get one thing straight. If I join you, then will I have to only race in GTRs from now on? Indeed. But do not worry, you'll see why. The GTRs, after all, is the best sports car in the world. Is that so? Then, my answer to that is... So, did you like the video? If you do, check out the time I tried to beat Gran Turismo 4 with just blue cars, or the time I tried to beat the game with just V8 cars. Or if you're interested in what I do, check out the channel. You'll like it.